Hello and welcome to the Confident at Work podcast. I am your host and confidence coach, Anna Manning, and today we've got something a little bit different. So, we all send email in our working day, but most of us probably don't stop to think about whether that email is any good and how confident we feel that we are sending good email. So today I've got Kim Arnold as my guest, and she is the queen of email extraordinaire, communications coach, speaker, author. And she's going to be talking to us about why sending good email matters, a bit about the skills gap that she sees in terms of our email writing when we're at work. She's going to share how important it is for us to write to connect with people rather than writing to impress them. About and writing emails with confidence, including the subtle fears that we have operating in the backs of our minds and how they can be having an impact on your email communication, and loads of other interesting issues. Plus, Kim is going to walk us through her special technique that she uses. It's an easy 3-stage technique to write better email. So, without further ado, I'm welcoming Kim to the podcast and I hope that you enjoy. So, welcome to the podcast, Kim.
Thank you so much. It's great to be with you, Anna.
I'm delighted today to be bringing you something that we haven't talked about before on the podcast. So, Kim, could you just introduce yourself and tell us about what it is you do?
Yes, of course. So, my name's Kim Arnold. I am founder of Email Engagement, the world's leading email writing training program, and I'm author of Email Attraction Get What You Want Every Time You Hit Send.
So, we're going to be chatting about sending good email. And obviously, it's something that all of us do. So that's why I wanted Kim to talk to us. And I guess the first thing that why should we care about sending good email?
It's a great question. Yes. Why should we care about email? The drudgery that most people hate doing every single day. It's not exactly the hottest topic at dinner parties, whatever I, try and convince people. So email really has changed over the last few years, really since COVID. Email has turned from a transactional tool, just one that we use to relay information with our colleagues, with clients, with stakeholders. Here's the information you need. And it's really evolved into a relationship tool now in the world of hybrid working. So we're using it for all sorts of things. We're using it to establish relationship with people we've never met before, new colleagues, new clients, people that are hard to get hold of. We're using it to project manage things. We're using it to get invoices paid. We're using it to persuade, influence, get in front of stakeholders, move projects forward, all sorts of things. So email really has become this jack of all trades that if we are going to really succeed and thrive in a hybrid world, we need to do it better. We're spending on average a third of our working week on email, a horrifying 6 years of our lives, which is a huge amount of time. And what we really need to do is understand how to engage busy readers in our world of overwhelm. How do we now turn this transactional tool into something much better? How do we leverage it for all the brilliant things that email can do? And particularly when it comes to our brand. So not just the brand of our organization, but making sure our emails really reflect our own personal brand. Do my emails represent me in the best possible way? Because right now they are how we are being judged. People are looking at our emails to figure out, do I like this person? Do I trust this person? Is this someone that I want to work with? Is this someone that I want to buy from? Is this someone that I want to hire or be part of their team? So email really now has become a much bigger priority, and we all need to learn to do it better.
Well, you've convinced me. And I'm guessing that whilst people tend to get trained on the technical aspects of their job, something like email, it's just a given. We hire you and we expect you to be able to do that without paying that much attention to it after that.
Absolutely. Well, most of us were taught to write at school or university, weren't we? Where the more you wrote, the better, essentially. And your teachers or your professors were actually paid to read what you write. We're now in a completely different environment where you need to get your message across in a matter of seconds. Otherwise, you lose people's attention. So, the writing that we've been trained to do is not really the writing that we are doing every single day. So, we've got a huge skills gap in many circumstances. And I hear every day from teams there's a real lack of confidence in written communication. And often people blame themselves. Oh, I'm just not a writer. I'm not good at this. I can't get my message across. When in actual fact, we're complete newbies when it comes to writing to grab attention, when it comes to writing to engage people in this hybrid world. So it's not a case of being a bad writer, it's just a case of needing to understand new skills and new approaches.
Yeah. So can you walk us through how then we send good email? Because we know we've thought about why we would do it. And I very much hear you in terms of I would like my email to be read and responded to or actioned in somebody's busy inbox, and their inbox probably is busy. So I know I want to be able to get somebody's attention. I know I want somebody to, communicate with me, warm to me, whatever. But how do I actually do that?
Well, the biggest thing that we need to understand is that no one really wants to read a single word we write. So that is the starting point. I mean, my book Email Attraction, Get What You Want Every Time You Hit Send. My son said to me, "Mum, really, it should be how to write emails for people that don't give a bleep." And I think that was, his X-rated title of my book was really accurate because everyone has their own priorities and their own to-do lists, and they don't necessarily coincide with our own. And what we tend to do when we sit down to write an email is think, right, what do I want to say?
Mm.
What do I want to get out of this email? If we are to engage people, we need to really flip that narrative and we need to think about what does my reader want or need to know? What is the impact going to be on them? There's a fantastic quote by a guy called Jacob Nielsen, and he's a professor of usability of the internet, and he looks at how we read online and how we consume information online. And he says this, he says, selfish and ruthless. And I really love that because it's so accurate. We're lazy. We want to get to information as quickly as possible. We're selfish. We only like information that directly benefits us, and we're ruthless. So we cut out absolutely everything else that doesn't benefit us. And we can see that, can't we, when we look through our inboxes and we're just scanning, aren't we? Scanning. Does this look useful? Does this look interesting? Does this look urgent or something that I really have to do? And everything else we kind of filter out. So in order to cut through all of that noise, all the other emails in people's inboxes, if we want to get our emails opened and answered, we need to answer that question. What's in it for them? How do we position our email in a way that connects with our reader? How do we show what the benefit is to them, wherever possible, of replying to us? And that is really the foundation to absolutely everything. It's all about our reader.
Okay. And one of the things that you said in the book, which I found really interesting, and I think maybe the people listening to the podcast will find this interesting too, because I bet they've fallen into this trap, just like I think I fell into this trap when I was in the corporate world, is that you talk about writing to connect and not to impress. And
Yes,
I wonder whether a lot of the time, subconsciously, because I don't think we're necessarily doing this on purpose, but I wonder if sometimes we're like writing to impress, but I don't know whether we're writing to connect. Could you tell us more about what you mean by that and why it's important?
absolutely. And this plays incredibly well to the title of your podcast here. It really is so much about underlying confidence when we communicate. So, what we tend to worry about, and when I work with teams all over the world, from marketing to sales to legal to finance to IT, and we tend to worry a lot about how we come across to other people. So, number one worry is not being seen as professional, right? This is particularly true in professional services, financial services, where really our credibility is.
Yeah. And I think, Kim, that's so just through talking about one thing, one aspect of our job, email, it really illustrates some of the problems that my clients and the people that listen to this podcast have at work on a whole wider scale. So when you talk about I need to kind of I need to portray this buttoned up version of me because this is the idea I have of the version which is professional, which is acceptable. And a lot of people will say to me, if I was feeling confident, I would be more myself. I would show up as I am and I would trust that actually I am the expert. I do know how to do my job, but this is me and this is how I do things. And hearing you say that that is repeated in email, which is one little aspect, or maybe not as little as we've learned today, but one little aspect of people's work world, and that gets amplified over all different types of communication in the way we go about things, in the way that we interact with people, in the decisions that we make, in the advice that we give. So to hear it here too is, I suppose, surprising and not so surprising. When we're not feeling confident, we feel like we have to sort of dress ourselves up in this very professional persona. And what you said was that formal language creates distance. But what I'm thinking there as a coach is, if I'm doing that, I'm creating distance on purpose because I don't actually want you to be near the real me, for maybe just because I don't think that I'm good enough, or I'm not feeling confident. I don't want you to be near that me. I want to create distance, and the way I'm going to do it is via this very professional persona. Yeah, and obviously that's what we aim to do on the podcast, is help people to feel more confident in all aspects of their working life. But I'm hearing Kim say, and I hope you're hearing if you're listening, about the fears that we have may be driving the way that we email right now. So instead of consciously deciding, okay, this is how I want to email, this is how I want to come across, our fears are subconsciously dictating how we email people. And Kim's already told us that one of those things, if the fear is in the driving seat, may be that we're being too professional, like quote unquote. So we're compensating by being too professional. We're being very formal. We're kind of putting on corporate armor so that we look like the professional, we look like the expert. But you also said the other thing that might happen when fear is kind of writing the email in the background is we put too much. They're too long. Yeah. So you're telling us that it's the exact opposite of what we might be doing. So if we're not feeling as confident, we are not concise at all. We fluff around, we write loads of things. But your expert advice is that the most confident emails are short and succinct, coming across in people's email. So there's two bits that I wanted to pick up on. And one of them is to do with the cultural context in the country that you're in. So for me, that's the UK context. And the other thing is the context in terms of gender and how this sometimes can be a gendered issue too. So the first thing is that often in the UK, I find that people are not so direct and they go around the houses, they dress things up such that you're not exactly sure what someone is asking you. And I wonder if you see that coming across in email.
Yes, organizations all over the world, and there's certainly a larger cultural difference than often we can imagine, even across European countries. I was doing a workshop actually just the other day, and it was in the UK, and one of the team was French, and she turned around, she said, "Oh, I am so fed up with this. I hope you are well. How was your weekend? Fluffy introductions. It drives me crazy. Just tell me what you want." And, it really made me laugh, although I do think we can often get preoccupied with cultural stereotypes and forget that within any culture, there's a huge range of different styles and approaches. So, generally, I would advise to really think about your particular reader rather than necessarily the country that they might be from.
Mm.
But yes, I do think we need to be aware of that. And I do think there are different standards that men and women are held to when it comes to email, particularly in tone. Women are often told that they are too direct, too brusque, too abrupt.
Mm.
I hear that almost never about men. Men don't seem to get that feedback in the same way that women do. There's definitely, I think, an expectation that women are likable, that they need to be friendly, that they need to be much more warm and fuzzy than men. And so a lot of women tell me that they have to walk this tightrope between professionalism and being friendly, and they really worry about going over one side of that tightrope too much. And there's a lot of agonizing over tone in a way that I don't see many men in the same kind of worries, having the same kind of worries about that. And I think women waste a lot of time worrying about this stuff. Not to say it's not important and a real concern, but they don't need to worry about it as much as they might think. So yes, lots of complexity there. I was talking to one client the other day, worked for a large bank, and she was saying that her team, she got on incredibly well with them in person, but she was horrified to learn that they were really scared of her because what she thought were very direct emails, they thought were rude and scary and difficult. And there's also a generational difference here, in terms of how we approach things. So lots and lots of nuance, when it comes to, just one short email. It can be interpreted in so many different ways, and we're actually not very good at interpreting intention at all over email. We think we're much better at it than we are, but studies show we're pretty rubbish at it. So it is a bit of a minefield for sure.
Yeah, and I've coached people before who have, one, been accused of being too direct, and two, been accused of, on the other hand, being too emotional, or, so people do get it both ways, and I think that is a reality. So I think it's no wonder to me that sometimes people spend longer worrying or agonizing, because I think there is more of a penalty gender-wise that women pay when it comes to how they are perceived. And we know that they get the feedback of being direct more than men, but are they direct more than men? Probably not. I mean, I've even had the feedback, well, could you flower that up a little bit? I remember that when I was a young lawyer. And I was looking at my boss and I was like thinking, I'm a lawyer, not a florist. Like, what is it? What do you want from me? I'm thinking I'm getting to the point, but it was too direct, apparently. So I think either side of the line, if you fall on it, like you say, it can be a bit of a difficult tightrope to walk. But I wonder if in in taking on this advice in terms of how our emails should be, so you've said, not too much, keep it shorter rather than longer, be concise, we can be polite but we can still be direct, and we can ask for the thing that we want. Whether actually, if people have got that set of rules, or almost like that structure in their mind, whether they can let go of some of the agony and be like, this is how an expert has told me to write good email, so that's what
Yeah,
I'm going to do.
yes, exactly. And people love the fact that I give them ammunition. So when their bosses might tell them to do things differently, they can say, actually, no, the research shows that this is the right approach. I mean, I teach what I call the heck hamburger technique, and it's in the book. It's in all of the workshops that we run, the in company programs that we run across whole organizations, really showing every single person in the organization how to write better emails, how to be more productive, how to save time and effort. And it's simply this: you have a hook, an explanation, and a call to action. So your hook is your opening sentence. That's how you grab attention. Don't write, I hope you're well. Then you have your explanation. So that's just 2 or 3 lines. What's the point of this email, and what's in it for my reader? And then you have your call to action. What do I want to happen next? And when you have a 3-step structure like this, as you say, it becomes much easier to decide what to leave out. Going back to Michelangelo, when you chisel away the superfluous, if you understand that you have this process, then everything becomes much, much easier. We just haven't been taught how to do it before. It's not difficult, and the joy is about it that the minute you learn it, you can experience huge benefits. You save time, you save effort. A lot of my clients refer to it as magic. Oh my goodness, Kim, I did the things you told me to say. And suddenly our teams are getting amazing responses. Stakeholders are getting back to us. We're getting meetings with clients we never could before. I had one company secretary email me and she said, Kim, I'm emailing people about the most boring, annoying things possible, and I'm getting 100% response rate. She couldn't believe it. So it's not rocket science. These are very simple things to do, but we just don't know how to do them. So the good news is it's not hard. We just need to get the skills to do it better. Well, it's definitely avoiding the I hope you're well. I hope this email finds you well. I trust this email finds you well. That's the lawyer version. And it's really about finding if we know the person, then let's make it personal. What do we know about them? Do we know what they did at the weekend? Have they got kids? Can you reference the weather? Anything to make it feel that you are in the moment with them. This isn't a generic cut and paste. You may as well not bother with anything, I think, than starting with something like, I hope you're well. Because really, it's just a waste of valuable real estate. We take just 3 seconds to evaluate an email. 3 seconds. Is this something that I want to read or not? 3, 2, 1, gone. So really, that first sentence of our email, it's like, I guess, the Champs-Élysées or Fifth Avenue or some other, Oxford Street or Regent Street in London. It's really valuable real estate. And if we write something like, I hope you're well, it's like parking our dented old van without the hubcaps on it, with, broken rear lights. It's like parking that on this beautiful real estate. We're totally ruining the whole look and feel of it. So starting with something that's personal, or just getting to the point. If it's someone, going back to thinking about our reader, what kind of person are they? Are they someone who just likes to get to the point, who writes incredibly short emails? We all know that person. Then feel free just to get to the point.
Okay, Kim. So in 5 minutes, I'm going to get you to teach people some of the goodness from the book about how to write good email. And you use this heck hamburger technique. Can you walk us through it?
Yes, so it's 3 parts to any great email. It's your H is for hook, E is for explanation, and C is for call to action. And that is just your ask. And when you have these 3 elements, it really is a simple way to write emails that get results. So, going through each of those one at a time. Your hook. So that's the first line of your email. That needs to be one short sentence. And really, what that does is whisper to your reader, look, this isn't going to be War and Peace. Look how easy it is just to read that first sentence. And it really draws your reader in. We don't want to write things like, I hope you're well. I hope this email finds you well. the lawyer version. I trust this email finds you well. We want to write something that is personal. I talked earlier about personality being the new currency in our attention economy. So we need to make this first sentence really count. We spend on average just 3 seconds assessing whether or not to read an email. 3, 2, 1, gone. It's hardly any time at all. So that first sentence is really important. So if we know something about our reader, let's use it. Let's make it personal. How was your weekend? Did your daughter enjoy her birthday party? Did you get soaked in the rain walking your dogs at the weekend? Something just to show that you are listening, you are taking an interest in them. And of course, you might not even need that sort of soft opener. You can, if it's with people who like to get to the point, you can just get to the point too. So that's
Mm.
your hook. Really important. Grab people's attention. Say something interesting. Don't waste it. Then onto your explanation. So really this is what I call the meat of your burger. It's your point. What is the point of your email? So answering the question, what's this email about and why should I care? And you want really just 2 to 3 sentences. That's all you need in most emails to get your point across. So keeping that really short and concise. And then you want to end with the C. So your C is your call to action. And that is, what is the next step? So again, ideally just one sentence. What is the one thing that I want to happen next? And sometimes we're not clear about that. It's where we sort of waffle. And you can be sure as hell if you're not sure about what you want to happen next, then the other person won't be either. So ending your email with a very clear ask. Don't bury it in the middle where people can't find it. Use it as a separate sentence. It really stands out and it will be the last thing that sits in people's brains. They will remember what it is that you want to happen next. So your hook, your explanation, and your call to action. If you have those 3 things in your email, you will get much better results.
So if we've got the hook, the explanation, the ask or the call to action right, is somebody more likely to hit reply?
Absolutely. They're far more likely to do what you want. And really, that's what most of our everyday work lives are about, aren't they? They're trying to get other people to do what we want. And often things that they may not really want to do. So when we become more expert at that, it is like magic. Like I said earlier, it really is like discovering a hidden secret. It's like the genie in the bottle. It really feels like a huge step change because it will save you time. You won't have to write emails following up with people, chasing people nearly as much. You won't get into email miscommunications. You'll be able to get your point across better. You'll be able to move projects forward faster. You'll be able to deepen connections with clients. You'll be able to influence stakeholders more easily. Every aspect of your work will be enhanced if you write better emails. It's the really simple enhancement that's right under all of our noses, and it's very simple to do. So it can make a huge difference. Tiny tweaks make a massive, massive impact on all areas of our working lives.
Great. And we love that because if something's easy to fix and a skill is, fairly easy to build, because it sounds like you've given people a really good format. If we can just follow it, apply those rules, we're going to save time and it sounds like more likely to get people to do what it is we're trying to get them to do.
Absolutely. We could be more persuasive, more engaging. We could show our personality more, feel more
Yeah.
confident in the way we communicate, say more with less. And a lot of these skills can be applied to different areas of writing as well. So, not just email, if we're writing reports or we're doing presentations or speeches or writing memos or, lawyers writing advice, all of these powerful communication skills, all of these skills about how to connect with people in this really busy hybrid world can benefit us across all sorts of different media. So learning how to write well is the absolute new power skill in today's world. Studies show, Grammarly survey from last year showed that we now spend the majority of our time in communication writing rather than speaking. So we need to make sure that those skills follow suit.
Thank you. And Kim, there's probably people that are listening to the podcast that will be thinking, oh, I'd quite fancy looking Kim up, seeing what she does. I know that you work with businesses and you go into businesses and support their people with writing better email. But you also have a book, which is great for individuals. And as you might imagine, it's beautifully written.
Well,
Advert. It's a good advert. But it also looks really cool. And I'm going to keep it on my desk. I would recommend Kim's book because I found it really good. We will leave the details for that in the show notes. Kim, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Do connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find on there. Post lots of email tips, thoughts, approaches, strategies. Or you can visit my website, kimarnold.co.uk. And yes, we work with organisations across all sorts of industries, from financial services, legal services, pharma, through to non-profits, and we work in a variety of ways, from one-to-one coaching to masterclasses and workshops, and in-company programs where we train trainers in organizations to really become email champions and upskill everyone across the organization. So please do get in touch if we can help you in any way. And as you say, yes, the book is Email Attraction, Get What You Want Every Time You Hit Send. And yes, I practice what I preach. It's a very short book. You can read it in a couple of hours and put it on your desk and refer to it every day to really make an impact on how you communicate.
Thank you very much for joining us on the podcast, Kim.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed our chat, Anna. Thank you.
And the last thing that I want to ask, because I always ask my guests this before they go, but if you had one piece of advice for people listening, let's say they're going to have one takeaway from this only, what would you say?
Oh, it's hard, but I think it goes back to that piece of advice: right to connect, not impress. Because when we make that shift, it can transform everything. It gives us more confidence to be ourselves. It helps us write in a more concise way. It helps us use language that really resonates with people. It helps us build relationships. So, right to connect, not impress.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you for joining us.
Bye, Anna. Well, that sounds great.